Good morning. Happy hump day. I'm Joey Gunnar here with Trent Finnegan. We are bringing it to you from the Nosebleeds. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. As we know, yesterday was the NFL trade deadline, and split decisions on where people feel about the Broncos not making any moves at the deadline. The options were there. There were abilities to make some trades, and they chose to stand pat and stay with their team that they built primarily in the offseason with these big acquisitions that they made there. They feel like they can keep it going, and honestly, they look like they can, being a 7-2 team. They just need to clean up some things, but did they make a mistake not doing anything at the trade deadline? Maybe there were some players out there that they could have brought in to improve this team in a few different areas, but they chose not to. I can't say if it was a mistake or not, and I guess we'll have to wait till the end of the season to see if that was a mistake. Trent, what do you think? Was that a mistake to stay where they are, or did they make the right decision?
I don't think it was a mistake by any means. And, we had a lot of people in here yesterday saying like, oh, they need to go get this guy, and hey, this position needs to improve, but the big theme was you can't pay too much right now because you got plenty of time with Bo Nix on his rookie contract. And you saw what the Dolphins were asking for Waddle, right?
Yeah.
You saw that?
It was a lot. They were asking around a first. Yeah, first and more.
And more. And no, is that two firsts? Is that a first and a second? Is that a first and a good player? That was way too much. And Waddle would have been cool. It definitely would have been cool to have him in Denver. He would have helped this offense. Now, then my mind goes to would Sean Payton have used Jalen Waddle correctly? Because Sean Payton some weeks just forgets about the receivers he has on the roster and tries to push his agendas with throwing checkdowns to Tyler Beatty. So I don't know if he would have used him correctly week in and week out. I don't know how this offense would have changed with him, but too steep of a price. And I didn't see anything about any other calls they made. I know Payton at practice yesterday was talking about it, and he said that they discussed a few things, but he said, I think we discussed a few things, but it's all good.
Yeah.
So that's not really an answer, but
it's a Sean Payton answer.
It at least shows that they talked about stuff, but again, steep price. I don't hate them not making a deal. You're 7-2 with what you got now, and you've had some injuries. Just keep the chemistry rolling.
Yeah, way too expensive. That's a wide receiver 2. There are only 3 wide receiver 2s in this league that I would give a first and maybe a second for. And that's Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, and Jordan Addison. Those are the only 3 wide receiver 2s where I'm like, okay, they could be wide receiver 1s on 90% of the teams in this league. Jalen Waddle is not one of those guys. He is now the wide receiver 1, of course, for the Dolphins because of Tyreek's injury, Tyreek Hill's. But that doesn't really change. I mean, this is the same conversation that we had about Courtland Sutton. Just because there is no Jerry Jeudy and he is technically the wide receiver 1, that doesn't make him a wide receiver 1 off play style. Courtland Sutton has a lot of the characteristics of a wide receiver 2. I mean, hell, in the past 6 weeks, we've seen Troy Franklin get more targets than Courtland Sutton. And that's the fact. So, I mean, yes, bringing in somebody like Jalen Waddle would have helped, but not in the long run if it's going to cost you a first and a player or a first and a third round pick or anything more expensive than 1 first rounder. The most I would give up for somebody like a Jalen Waddle, I mean, maybe a Marvin Mims and a third rounder. That's what I could see. So asking for a first and more is just insane. That's way too much to me. But around the league, yeah, we saw some other targets go away too. You were talking about, just in the AFC West, we saw Jacoby Myers go to Jacksonville. And then a lot of the conversation we had yesterday was about Rashid Shaheed. He went to the Seahawks. Now the Seahawks have a stacked wide receiver room. So the Broncos, did they mess up not going to get Shaheed, or was this kind of like the plan? Do you like, is it more of the same where it's like, we have what we have?
So the price for Shaheed was a 4th and a 5th, which you look at it and you're like, that would have been good. I think that was good value. I think Seattle, great deal for Seattle. They're a really good team over there in the NFC. I wish that the Broncos would have taken advantage of that, but they feel like this roster, they feel like there wasn't a deal out there that would have made this roster better. So they're happy with what they have right now. And another thing too, is they value they value these draft picks so much because George Payton, he's had a couple of misses, of course, but George Payton has done a decent job with these draft picks in the past. So we all know Nick Bonito taken in the late second round, and now look at him. Like, he's playing well. You see, he got a gem with Crawshaw in the 7th round, who's punting the crap out of the ball. He's doing great.
Yeah, it's rare you'll hear me talk about a punter being so well, but he's playing very well.
Pat Bryant's been all right. He's been good at blocking. He just really hasn't gotten an opportunity. We know Jade Barron he's been good in the limited reps he's gotten. Troy Franklin in the 4th round. Like, all these guys that they've drafted, they just haven't really been given a huge chance to shine. They haven't been given a big spotlight. But I think that this team values these draft picks so much more than maybe other general managers and head coaches do. So we're sitting here with the same roster that's 7-2, the same roster that's atop the AFC West for the first time since 2016, the roster that's got the Broncos off to a 7-2 start for the first time since the Super Bowl year. You can't argue with those things. They were happy with it. So, yeah, you got to be good. And we got a comment here asked about the Chiefs trading for a running back. So the Chiefs went after Breece Hall in New York, who we'll talk about New York in a second, just total fire sale. The Chiefs wanted Breece Hall. They only wanted to give a 4th for him. The Jets wanted a 3rd, so that deal didn't get done. So good news for the Broncos that they don't have to see Breece Hall twice this year, because that would not have been good.
That would have been an issue. But just like, let's take a step back. We were talking about the Saints yesterday and the overall trades that have happened between the Broncos and the Saints this year, with the Devon Vele trade being the only one that's actually happened. If the Rashid Shaheed one were to happen with the 4th and a 5th, just think about this. The Broncos would be getting, they got a 4th and a 7th from the Chiefs for Devon Vele. So they are Devon Vele, Broncos have a 4th and a 7th. They send a 4th and a 5th away, so all that they've given up is Devon Vele and a 5th rounder for Rashid Shaheed. That sounds like a great deal to me. That sounds like a great deal. If you could, so they get Rashid Shaheed and a 7th rounder for a 5th rounder and Devon Vele if it were to have gone through yesterday with that same package. That sounds pretty even, honestly, and it sounds like a greater deal for the Broncos. So yeah, it surprised me a little bit that they didn't pursue that a little more. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. Seahawks.
I don't know. Shaheed's a lot. I think Shaheed's a lot better than Vele. I know a lot of people here love Vele and he had some good moments here. But like Shaheed, I know he's stuck in New Orleans. He's stuck playing on Fox at 11 a.m. every week with a bad quarterback. But that's a good he's good. I promise you that. And he's good. That the Seahawks got a steal with that trade.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. And now you look at their wide receiver room. They have JSN, Rashid Shaheed, and Cooper Kupp. Oh my gosh.
And Torrey Horton.
And Torrey Horton, CSU kid. Yeah.
2 touchdowns.
He kind of tore it up. Yeah, last week he tore it up. So they have a really good team, and they're looking like a real NFC contender right now. Thank God that Rashid Shaheed went to the NFC too, where the Broncos don't have to deal with him as much.
Yes.
But that team's looking dangerous. Sam Darnold, total revival. But let's talk about another team, not the Broncos. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier. The Jets. Holy crap. They were breaking news yesterday. They were must-see TV during the trade deadline because they were just having a complete fire sale, racked up a bunch of picks, and got rid of some of their best defensive players. What the heck happened in New York? I can't imagine how those New York fans are feeling right now. Well, so most New York fans are probably Giants fans, by the way, if they're real New York people. But
I'm curious, do you think that their deals ruined the market, like kind of inflated the market because they were able to get so many first-round picks yesterday? Or do you think that's worth it because they traded away two very talented guys?
Definitely worth it. I mean, Sauce Gardner's right up there with PS2. Sauce Gardner is right there with PS2. There were real debates, not only 2 years ago, but last year as who was the better cornerback, and PS2 ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year. So Sauce Gardner getting 2 first-rounders for him, that's fair. That's 100%. I mean, that's about what I'd expect to get for PS2, don't you think? Maybe a little bit more?
Oh, PS2 is more than that.
You think he's worth more than 2 first-rounders?
First of all, PS2 doesn't get traded, period.
No, he won't.
Second of all, that guy, I mean, I like Sauce Gardner. I think he's fine, but he's a little grabby, and his zone isn't as good. I mean, Surtain would have to garner at least 3 if if I would never say to trade him, but like if for some crazy reason that comes up, he's getting at least 3 firsts in my eyes. So, but
Three
that trade
firsts.
and they got
I mean,
AD Mitchell.
Yeah,
They got AD
true.
Mitchell in that trade, 2 firsts and AD Mitchell for Sauce. And like AD Mitchell's, he dropped the ball. He's the reason why the Colts aren't 8-1. He dropped the ball on the goal line and that early season loss that they had.
Yeah.
And then the Quinn Williams trade was
Yeah.
another big one. And the Cowboys just loading up on D tackles now. They're just going to stuff the run and do nothing else.
I guess. Well, they need to stop something. That defense is terrible. So if they can stop one facet of the game, then maybe they'll be a little bit better. But I mean, they lost to the Cardinals. They need all the defensive players they can get. But yeah, no, it's crazy.
And the thing about this that the Jets did as well is they fleeced the Cowboys because the Cowboys obviously have their own first-round pick and the Packers' first-round pick next in the next draft the 2027 draft because of the Micah Parsons deal, which was so bad in its own. And good old Jerry Jones said, hey, you could have whichever one of those picks is better. So the Jets get to choose which pick is higher between the Cowboys and the Packers first round pick.
That's
in 2027. Trade. I'm just like, Jerry Jones.
That's a terrible trade. Jerry Jones needs a stern talking to is maybe the best way to say it. Because that's not good. That's just really not good. And now you look at the Jets, though, on the other hand, they're loaded with draft capital. They might be, I don't actually know if I can say this because I feel like anytime you say something like this, it's never going to work. But the Jets might be good in a couple years. Like in 5 years, they might be good if they can nail these next 2 drafts because they've got 2 firsts and 2 seconds this upcoming season. So this draft, they've got 2 firsts and 2 seconds. Next year, they have 3 first-round picks. Is that right? That's right, correct?
Yeah.
So 3 first-round picks next year, 2027, and then 2 this season. That's pretty good. I mean, that's 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. They better make some good moves. They better, be able to bring in some talent, or else New York City might be on fire. Maybe not New York City. Maybe just MetLife Field.
Maybe just East Rutherford.
Yeah, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Yeah, because the New York people who are fans of the Giants don't care. They probably love that the Jets are just shooting themselves in the foot again. That there's a real likely chance that they just completely miss on every single one of their picks. It's the Jets.
And it's the Jets, and but you have 5 swings at a quarterback theoretically, or I guess 7 if you want a second-round quarterback. I will say that the Jets of the past are fun to make fun of, whatever, but they have Darren Moogie, who was a former assistant GM for the Broncos the last couple of years.
Yep.
So now you have this former Bronco going out to New York and just tearing up the trade market. So I think he did a great job yesterday, but like we're saying, how does it matter if you can't nail the picks? We've seen a guy like George Payton, who we know can draft and can evaluate talent. Can the Jets do the same thing? Or are they going to draft a bust quarterback and be right back here in 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, well, look at the QBs going into the draft coming up. I mean, there's some solid QBs heading towards the draft in the next 2 years.
A 27 draft is crazy. That 2027 draft is going to be insane.
Is Arch is going to be in the 2027, right?
He could be in either. He and Dante Moore, Oregon, are weird. They could go this year, and they would get more money this year, but they would benefit as a player from having another year in college. So it kind of depends. They can do either or. The money's hard to argue with, but I think both of them would, if they could get one more year in college, and they'd be really good NFL quarterbacks in that 27 draft. And that draft, I mean, it's so far away, but it gets me so excited to talk about because there are so many good players across the country right now.
It's going to be like another 2024 draft where we could see 8 quarterbacks or however many there were go in the first round. How many quarterbacks were there? Was it 7 or was it 8 in the 2024 draft?
It was 6 in the first 12 picks.
Okay, 6 in the first 12. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bo Nix was the last one.
Bo was the last one. Yeah. That was incredible to see. That's very similar to what we could see in 2027. That would be fun. But yeah, the Jets look like that team. The Broncos didn't make a move. That's fine. They're riding it out right now. They're 7-2. They didn't need to make any changes. A wide receiver or maybe a new tight end, maybe a linebacker would have helped, especially this week. Watching Alex Singleton up against Brock Powers is going to be painful to watch. But right now we're good. The Broncos are good. They are set. They stood pat, and now they're moving forward to the postseason. And again, they're tied for first in the league. They don't need to really do anything right now. I mean, it would have been fun to see. Yeah, there's a lot of time. They have a lot of things that they can improve on in the offseason. But right now, they still look like a Super Bowl contender when they're playing at their peak. So I'm not too upset that they didn't do anything. But let's move on. Oh yeah, if you wanted to keep going on, but I was thinking we could move on to Coach Prime and what he did yesterday, because I know you're a Buffs guy. You went to CU and you were really upset about that. You were texting me last night and you did not. It was not a happy text. It felt like the tone there was not happy. Deion Sanders took the podium yesterday and he gave Buffs fans a whole lot of answers to nothing. He didn't give anything out at that press conference yesterday. It was not a good sight, and people might start losing confidence in Coach Prime here pretty soon.
So first off, the only like straightforward answer he gave was about Julian Lewis, which we all knew Julian Lewis was already starting. That wasn't like news he broke. And he said and somebody asked him, why are you playing Julian Lewis? And he said common sense. He said they're like, common sense, anyone would have started this kid 6 weeks ago. And he would have probably had a season. Instead, we're out there with Caden Salter. And then the second thing is just like, CU fans want answers. Their team was 9-4 last year. They had a Heisman Trophy winner. They were in contention for the Big 12 title game all season. And I know they played an easy schedule last year, but still, 9 wins is 9 wins. This year, they're 3-6. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a coaching staff. They don't have a defense. They don't have anything besides an offensive line. And their coach is out here tossing around a bunch of word salad. And he's like, and so first off, he was asked about coaching changes. And he said, that's on you to figure out. He said, I might have already made a decision. He's like, but I'm not going to go out there and blow the whistle and say I made the change. And then it turns out, apparently, Pat Shurmur, who everybody knows how bad Pat Shurmur is, whether he's CU's offensive coordinator, the Broncos offensive coordinator, the Giants head coach. Has he ever been good?
I can't say yes.
No,
I can't say yeah.
So apparently he had his play calling duties relieved before this Arizona game last week, and Brett Bartolone stepped in, and he was just as bad. So I guess we got an answer, but it wasn't from Deion. It was from a USA Today article last night. And he just keeps saying, he's like, I know and then the other thing, this was crazy. He said, things are looking good behind the curtains.
Are they?
You just gave up 50-plus points in 2 straight games. Your top recruit, period, in 2026 decommitted yesterday morning, and yet things are going good behind the curtains. When all we can see is a team with a ranked win going into a bye week, and then the season is just totally plummeted.
That makes me upset. Like, things should not be going well behind the curtains. Things should be, starting to catch on fire. Like, there should be issues behind the curtains right now. You just gave up 52 weeks in a row. You have barely any direction outside of knowing that your freshman quarterback is going to be playing next week. That's the only direction that the Buffs have right now, is that they know that Julian will be playing. And that can be looked at as good. But what I'm seeing is that now you're wasting his red shirt on a 3-6 season, likely going to finish probably a 5-7 season. Like,
that's generous. That's generous.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I really thought that a win against Arizona was likely. If they could have won against Arizona, they could win against the rest of the league or rest of the matchups that they have. I don't even know, man. There are so many bad things to look at this team, and it's upsetting because last year was such a fun team to watch. And if you gave this offensive line to Shedeur Sanders last season, Shedeur would have been a first round. I mean, I thought he was a first round pick anyways, but he would have been a first round pick even more because of what we could have seen when he actually had time in the pocket. Like, you're wasting a really good offensive line and just throwing the rest of the team out there and saying, you know what? I'm not giving you guys any direction. Basically, go play some backyard football, run around, get open. That's what Pat Shurmur's doing. And then he's like, let's run the same play 3 times in a row. Let's run a slip screen 3 times in a row. That'll get him. No, it's not going to work. It's just
No.
there are a lot of really bad things to look at for this team, and they need to fix something. And I got to say, it's not going to happen during the season this year.
No.
The only thing that we can look forward to is next season. That's it.
Yeah. And the funny thing, so then after the curtain thing, he was asked, hey, can you give us a sneak peek behind the curtain? And he said, my favorite excuse in all of sports. He said, they're practicing right. He's talking about how good practice looks. Of course practice looks good. Practice always looks good.
Yeah. I mean, these kids are like, they're college athletes. Practice better look good. Like, what do you expect them to not look good in practice?
You're going against a scout team, and you have a general idea of what plays the scout team are going to run. You're overmatched. Like, of course practice is going to look good.
Yeah.
And it's just like people just want answers. CU fans want answers. CU donors want answers. And they have this coach who's keeping everything shrouded in mystery. And it's just, and I get it. And I guess some people are going to say, well, he's giving an answer. You just got to dig for it. Other coaches aren't doing that. Other coaches are saying, hey, my OC's gone. Hey, this coach is now doing this. Hey, this guy's going to play this week. And instead, CU fans have to analyze YouTube videos from well-off media every single week to try and figure out what's going on with their team, because their coach just continues to be like, oh, well, you're going to see, and I know what has to change, and this looks good, and behind the curtains is good. And it's just like, you're 3-6, and you're trending so far backwards. Just give the fans an answer on what's going on with the team that they've been supporting for years and years and years.
Yeah, it was cute at first, and now it's time to grow up. It's time to actually be a coach. It was fun 2 years ago when you were just like giving these weird non-answers, but the team looked good. And
being 4-8 that year was fine.
Yeah, because you knew you were growing. You knew you were going to get better.
Yes. It's taking 43 steps back from last year to this season is not at all what you want, especially from a coach who's getting paid $54 million.
You're right. 100% right. It's upsetting. It's upsetting. I don't know how much hope there is, even moving forward. Obviously, I've said there's none this season. Moving forward, there needs to be answers. You're entirely right, Trent. There needs to be answers. All right, let's move on to my favorite segment of the week, Waiver Wire Wednesday. Which players should you be watching around the league? We each pick 3 players that we think are going to pop off each week. And this weekend's going to be fun. This weekend is going to be fun. There's a lot of really crazy matchups coming up. And I'll just go first. My pick is Devin Singletary, the Giants running back. He is in a situation where the Giants running back room is entirely in shambles, and they're looking for somebody to step up. Singletary last week had more carries than Tyrone Tracy, who was supposed to be the running back 1. A lot of people had hope for him coming into this season, and of course, Scotabo really shined. But this could be the game where Devin Singletary looks like the main character. I'd expect the Giants to pound the rock against this Bears defense, who has a bottom 10 run defense. That's my first pick. Trent, what is your first pick?
I got Harold Fannin, tight end for the Browns. He really popped off last week. He had a touchdown. He had over 60 yards. He had 8 targets. And look, we know I said Njoku a couple weeks ago, and Njoku, it seems that they've kind of switched the offense, and Stefanski's not the play caller anymore down there. It's Tommy Rees. And last week really showed that Gabriel and Fannin have gotten comfortable with each other. And we know Dylan Gabriel. We know he's not going to be chucking the ball 40 yards down the field. We know he's going to be throwing it short. We know he's going to be throwing it underneath. And Harold Fannin, super talented tight end, consensus All-American last year. I thought he should have won the Mackey Award, but just because he was at Bowling Green, I think he got a little snubbed on that. But I think that he's just going to continue to get 8, 9, 10 targets a game as long as Gabriel's running the offense. So I think Harold Fann's going to have a big week again. I'm curious to hear what your second pick is, though.
My second pick is fun. It's Jacoby Brissett. Brissett is expected to be the starter again this week against the Seahawks. And last week, he found his stride with the Cardinals, throwing for 261 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, sure, They played the Cowboys, and everybody's stats are inflated against the Cowboys. But going up against the Seahawks, where you're going to need to have some offensive firepower every single time you go down the field because of how good the Seahawks offense is, I'd expect Brissett to have that mentality locked in. The coaches are going to be pounding it into him that they're going to be passing the ball. I'd expect a big game from Brissett and Marvin Harrison Jr., but mostly Brissett. Back to you, Trev. What's your third pick or second pick?
I will say I love that because Seattle's run defense is so good. So they're gonna have, if they're gonna win the game, they're gonna have to throw the ball. So next one, Pop Douglas to Mario Douglas over on the Patriots. They got Drake May over there, who's been balling. I think he should be the front runner for the MVP right now. He had 100 yards last week. He had a touchdown last week. He only had 6 targets, and you've got Booty, you've got Diggs, so he's kind of that third receiver, but he's been getting a little more traction, and he's been getting a lot of chunk plays. He's got a 58-yarder this week, a 44-yarder last week, a 53-yarder a couple weeks before that. So he gets more of these chunk plays, and he's so dynamic after the catch that he could really break one free. All he's got to do is break one tackle, and that guy's gone. So he's a little guy. So he's 5'8", 192. So it's not like a Cortland Sutton or something. Like, he's going to catch it, and he's going to skirt around all these linebackers and whatnot. Yeah. So great showing from him last week. I really think he's going to carry it on. The Patriots look outstanding. I really wish the Broncos would play that team, maybe in a playoff game. Yeah,
we got a new Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. That's starting up. I like that a lot. This is my favorite pick so far with this show. We've had many Waiver Wire Wednesdays so far, and I have yet to have chosen this guy, but this is the week. This is the Taysom Hill week. This is the week where Taysom Hill goes off for 30 or so fantasy points, ends up having an incredible game, catching for 50 yards, throwing for a touchdown, running for a touchdown, probably having 70 all-purpose yards on the ground and through receptions combined, and then maybe adding another 15 through the air with a touchdown. Taysom Hill is one of those wild card players that never works until it does. And this is the week where it works, where the season is basically over for the Saints. Tyler Shutt is the quarterback, and they're playing the Carolina Panthers. And while the Carolina Panthers are a better team, they're still a team where it's like, does this game matter at all? Who wants to watch Panthers versus Saints ever? I would rather throw myself off a bridge into water because that is my nightmare. But this could be a fun game to watch if Taysom Hill starts getting the rock. He had the ball a couple times. He played quarterback a few snaps last week, and he had a few opportunities to do something on the ground and in the air. So this is the week where he goes out and balls out. That's my favorite pick. And then, Trent, back to you for your final pick.
I got to go with Luke Musgrave, the Packers tight end. Now, look, he hasn't got a lot of production this season, but that's because Tucker Kraft has been going crazy. I have Tucker Kraft on a team, and he has been carrying my offense, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, sad news, tore his ACL in the loss against the Panthers last week. So then now the Packers have to pivot to Luke Musgrave. Is Luke Musgrave as good as Tucker Kraft? No. There's not a lot of tight ends who are as good as Tucker Kraft. Still, Jordan Love likes using tight ends. He's shown that the last couple of years as the Packers quarterback. I'd expect Musgrave to still garner around 5 or 6 targets a game, see a little uptick in his production, especially in the red zone. Big body, 6'6", 253 pounds. You can just get him to box somebody out. So I think that'd be good for people who are looking for a tight end, especially if you already have Kraft and he's hurt. Use that as your handicap for him. I really think that Luke Musgrave can be a solid pickup for some people in desperate need.
I like that. I like that pick a lot. Well, those are our 3 picks each for Waiver Wire Wednesday. I do want to read some of your guys' comments. You're leaving a lot of great comments. We always love when you guys leave comments so that we can react to them live on the stream, give you a little shout out. Roy, always good to see you. Good morning, Joey and Trent. Told you we weren't going to make any moves. There were calls. Yeah, there were definitely calls. The Broncos had a few calls with the Dolphins. Asked too high of a price for Jalen Waddle, ended up not making any moves. And you were right. I remember you yesterday saying, Roy, they weren't going to make any moves. So great call on your part. Got to love that. Unfortunate, but fortunate in a lot of ways. Maybe they could have done something, but obviously when you're in a situation like this where you're top of the league, do you really need to give away future draft capital for somebody who could maybe improve your offense a little bit more? It's up there. It's up in the air. But great call out on that one, Roy. Let's see a little bit more. it means one of two things. They think they can win it all as is, or they feel like we are still a couple draft picks away. I like that. Because, there have been talks earlier before the season began. Sean Payton was saying the goal is to win the division, and they're doing that right now. So if I were to guess, one of the two things, they're closer to thinking that they can win it all, closer than they are to thinking that they're still a couple draft picks away. I like that a lot. Trent, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's good, and there's a lot of good options in this late first round that they might be already looking at, and they said, hey, we don't want to burn a draft pick on it. You got Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. You got a couple of edge players. You got Chris Bell from Louisville, really good receiver, I think would complement Cortland Sutton well. Chris Brazel, who's another outside guy receiver at Tennessee. So I think that there's a lot of offensive talent in that late first round region, which we assume where the Broncos should be picking. So it seems like they're like, hey, we like what we have now, and maybe we just want to save those picks for one of those young guys.
Yeah, I like that. I like that philosophy. Let's see a few more. How did we not make a trade? Tight end or wide receiver would have been awesome. It would have been great, but I mean, yeah, there it is, Trent. Too much money. Too much money on a lot of that. Oh, this is when we were talking about the Jets and all their picks, and they whiffed on all of them. I like them. I can't say I disagree. I mean, there's a very good chance that the Jets just completely miss on all 5 of their next 2 years first round picks. Colts got better. We didn't, so we can draft more backups. Stupid. There's
I get that. I get the frustration with that because Barron's a backup, Pat Bryant's a backup, RJ Harvey's a backup. Those are the Broncos' first 3 picks this year. Q Robinson, their 4th round pick, is like a developmental special teams player. I get the frustration with that, but they clearly didn't want to pay that high of a price tag, and we don't know. Maybe Waddle was a first and a second again, so we're never gonna know exactly what the price was beyond a first and whatever the more was. But I definitely can see the frustration with that because while some draft picks and young guys are balling out for the Broncos, people are like, where's Jahdae Barron? Why is RJ Harvey getting 2 targets? So I understand that.
Yeah, I can see that. But then also, like, Colts got better by giving up 2 first-round picks and one of their receivers for a cornerback. Like, they got better, like an all-pro cornerback. Yeah, Sauce Gardner is a great cornerback. Probably top 2 in this league. Obviously, he's not number 1, but actually, I don't know if he's top 2 anymore. But he has been in recent years.
Top 5. Hunter, top 5.
Top 5. He's a top 5 cornerback in this league. So, yeah, they got better in one singular position, but they had to give up a lot of future for that. So, this helps them if they're making a Super Bowl push right now. The Broncos, they didn't get better during the trade deadline, but they didn't get worse. That's how you got to think about it too. Like, they didn't give up draft capital. They didn't give up anything. They didn't get better, but they didn't get worse. They stood pat, and they believe that they can continue winning the way that they are, hopefully better. Hopefully they get some better wins moving forward, but they believe in themselves right now. The Broncos receivers are getting open, so why do we need another one? Bo just needs to stop getting happy feet and set and throw the ball to the open guy. You're right. I mean, that's very true in a lot of cases.
If you watch the All-22, he's not being patient enough. He's not letting some of these intermediate routes develop, and he's going to the check down or he's rolling to the right. So it's now here's my thing. Is that going to change? Because if that changes, great. But if it's not going to change, then what do? You're not going to win a Super Bowl with how Bo Nix is playing right now. So either he's got to develop a little more and become more comfortable in the pocket, or I don't know what else you're supposed to do. But this guy's right. You watch the film, there are guys getting open down the field. They're just not getting the ball.
Yeah. And then this one is completely on the other side of that. They needed another proven receiver to help Sutton. The other receivers are projects of his. All the pressures on the GM and the coach. So that's completely the other side. I don't know. Do they need another proven receiver? I love Marvin Mims. I think that he's proven himself in a lot of ways. I mean, look at how he played in that Bengals game last season. Talk about clutch. Marvin Mims is that guy. Troy Franklin, fast as hell, can get open. Just hit that deep ball, Bo Nix. I don't know if they need more receivers. These guys that they have on the team right now just need to grow a little bit in my eyes. I don't know. Disagree or agree with me, Trent?
And we said it earlier. If they're going to give up a draft capital for a receiver, are they going to use him correctly? they don't use Franklin and Mims and Bryant correctly and Ingram correctly on a week-to-week basis. So I get it. I get both sides of the argument, but my thing is, if you watch the film, there are guys getting open, and B, is it worth giving up a second-round pick for a guy that Sean Payton might just forget about on any given Sunday?
Yeah, you're right. You're 110% right. Well, that'll do it for today's episode of From the Nosebleeds. Thank you guys so much for joining. Don't forget to answer our poll. It will be ending tomorrow, right before the Raiders game. We have a question about the Raiders. Well, how big will the margin of victory be? Go answer the poll, like it, comment on it. We are featuring some comments on the polls too, and we'll be reacting to that on Monday. But we will see you guys all tomorrow, of course, previewing the Broncos game against their first divisional matchup since the Chargers back in week 3. Should be a big game tomorrow, a big blowout victory for the Broncos. But thank you guys so much for joining. We will see you tomorrow. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.